Sorry Cup, and good afternoon once again. Today is Friday, the 7th of August 2020, and this is the English language summary of the daily press briefing here at the Center for COVID Situation Administration, or CCSA, once again. So firstly, in terms of scheduling, as the spokesperson recapped just now, from now on, we will not be having regular weekly press briefings, both in Thai and in English, not regularly, but we will be having these briefings on days that we have the general full CCSA meetings, wherein the Prime Minister would be chairing. So approximately that will be once a month. The next general CCSA meeting might be approximately around the 21st of August. And in the meanwhile, the information, the messaging would be coming out directly from the various agencies involved, be they on the economic side, the economic ministries, or the foreign ministry, or the interior ministry, and the health ministry, for example. So that will be the scheduling from now on. In the meanwhile, you can also, of course, search and find information from the various social media platforms that we have, the CCSA Facebook pages, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs platforms, the Ministry of Public Health platforms, and the like. In the past days, of course, we have also been outreaching to the foreign media as well. The Foreign Ministry itself participated on Wednesday in an event hosted by the FCCT, or the Foreign Correspondents Club of Thailand, at their premises to discuss and be in dialogue with them regarding the communication during COVID, communicating COVID. So I'd like to begin first regarding the massive explosion in Beirut on the 4th of August last Tuesday, and the spokesperson mentioned about this. His Excellency the Prime Minister sent a message of condolence to the Prime Minister of Lebanon, and the Foreign Minister of Thailand also sent a message of condolence to his counterpart on the 5th of August, one day after the incident, wishing that Lebanon would be able to overcome the aftermath of this catastrophe. In Lebanon, just as to note, there are around 200 Thai nationals. Around 30 have already returned during the peak of COVID. And in the incident, around 2 Thai nationals were slightly injured. So the Thai embassy in Riyadh, that has jurisdiction, that takes care of the relationship between Thailand and Lebanon, is in close touch with the Thai citizens in that country. Another piece of information, good news, is that regarding the Thai students in Egypt, they actually visited the CCSA executives to convey their appreciation for all the assistance provided in repatriating back Thai students in Egypt in the past weeks and months. However, a number, of course, still remain in that country, and the Thai embassy there involved there is actively engaging with the Thai students there. In the overall picture, we take this opportunity to thank you all once again, Thai citizens and foreign friends of Thailand, those also abroad, for your understanding of the various measures thus far, our situation, most importantly, your kind cooperation and your understanding of the public sentiment of the host country on this matter, in order to ensure the continued safety of all our families, our friends during this time. So I'll move on to the general situation, the number of cases and fatalities. Last time the English language briefing was broadcasted was around a week ago. So just to recap the number of new cases reported in the past 7 days, there were 35 cases in Thailand in the past 7 days. All were imported cases found during the state quarantine among passengers who were repatriated back from abroad, from countries such as India, Egypt, UAE, Russia, Germany, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, United States, Serbia, Denmark, Bahrain, and Japan. and there were thus far no new local cases nor any fatalities. So coming up on screen in a moment is the numbers, the slide that we have for you each day regarding the new confirmed cases for today. Yes, for today, Thailand reports 15 new confirmed cases, 4 cases from repatriation from Egypt, 10 from Saudi Arabia, and 1 from Japan. Please note that all of this is, of course, from imported cases of those being repatriated back from abroad to Thailand and sent directly into the quarantine system in Thailand. No new local cases reported. As you can see on the slide, in Thailand now, cumulatively since the very beginning, we have now 3,345 cases with 3,148 recoveries or being treated, and around 139 or approximately 139 are in hospital receiving treatment. So as we mark the 74th day of zero local infection, we see that the pandemic is still evolving. It's still affecting people all over the world. The accumulated total, more than 18 million now across the world globally of infected cases, and 700,000 fatalities. Many countries continue to face the second wave. So we therefore, once again, we repeat this every time. We must remain vigilant and continue to practice the new normal lifestyle to get through this period together. Just recapping some important developments regarding the repatriation. The spokesperson showed some slides regarding the detailed flights. I'll just give you a general recap that to date, around 66,000 Thai nationals from countries and territories around the world have already returned. And since the beginning of July, when foreign nationals were repatriated back into Thailand, that was done in parallel. Around 3,000 to 4,000 foreign nationals have already returned to Thailand through special flights or repatriation flights back to Thailand, and done in parallel with the Thai nationals, around 3,000 to 4,000 already. So those returning from overseas undergo the 14-day state quarantine system without any exception. So be rest assured that as we continue to do this in parallel, bringing back Thais and foreigners back until the situation globally is safe to reopen the border, whether by land, by water, or by air. Most recently, the Civil Aviation Authority of Thailand, or CAAT, announced on the 3rd of August that 4 additional groups of non-Thai nationals would be permitted to enter Thailand. These include those with permanent residency, including their spouses and children, those with work permits, including their spouses and children, those permitted to enter Thailand under special arrangement, as well as the migrant workers, as long as they have the various documentation and are qualified. So you see on screen the flowchart that we had already disseminated on at least on the Facebook of the Foreign Ministry, on the Facebook of the various agencies involved. You can find that easily. So it's for those different groups that are permitted to enter Thailand. And just as a note, this new announcement is actually a little bit different in addition to the announcements already made, in that it includes the spouses and children of non-Thai nationals in these various groups, those with permanent residency, with work permits, as well as migrant workers from neighboring countries whose employers are allowed to bring in workers from abroad. And upon arrival, all these groups, of course, 14-day state quarantine, SQ, or the alternative state quarantine, ASQ. The spokesperson mentioned in one of the questions addressed directly to him just now regarding the name list of the ASQ. I'll go to that because this is kind of related to this announcement. So the spokesperson mentioned that the ASQ name list is actually public. The question was whether it was made public or not for transparency purposes, for those who would be kind of vigilant in trying to search where people are being quarantined. So this ASQ list is public. It's in the website hsscovid.com. We've mentioned this already often. So the name lists of the hotels are public, but putting a sign up, for example, in front of one of those ASQs to identify that it's an ASQ is up to the discretion of the hotel itself, because of course they would have to evaluate a bit on various aspects, whether in that particular community it would be a constructive thing to do or not. But in any case, the name list is open there, is available there on social media. Another piece of information, and we'll have a slide coming up on the various measures, easing measures on the 6th phase, is that the Thai government placing the utmost importance to reviving the economy as well, of course, on COVID, allowing various business establishments, activities to open operations, maintaining only the necessary measures for prevention and control in the past weeks and months. So some of the recently approved measures, you can see an English language slide, courtesy credit to the NBT World, which identifies various activities such as group activities for assembly allowed in the spirit of the, of course, all the legal aspects. The second is the television and film production activities resuming, allowing foreign film crews to enter with specific itineraries. The third is places with inflatable playgrounds or other areas like ball pits are allowed to open with standard health and building certification. And lastly, on this slide, just to highlight four clusters in terms of easing restrictions. The last is that the governors of the various provinces in Thailand are in charge of considering whether to allow some other types of activities which are prevalent in the provinces of Thailand, such as cockfighting pits, and other similar sports, whether to open or not. So that is under the discretion of the governors across the country. So I mentioned some questions which were addressed directly to the spokesperson. Now there are a few other questions which we found on social media for the English language community. They have been posted there, and we try to address them from time to time. One question is that would there have been anything that should have been done differently to date? Obviously, for foreign nationals, the managing of entry of foreign nationals were sort of like shifted to the local embassies abroad in order to have more discretion in terms of considering the various documentation, providing the COEs, the certificate of entry. So that has shifted from HQ to the embassies as time went by. So I'd like to say that our main priority is to prevent the second wave. So therefore, it is most appropriate to be dynamic. In all of this, it's important to be dynamic, and the various embassies around the world have been monitoring the situation on the ground in various countries. So that is one important aspect. The authorities are doing their utmost to facilitate and accommodate those who are unable to return back to Thailand, and those who have reason to stay on in Thailand, for example, for health-related reasons. So I think the best answer is that during times of crisis like this, it's best to adapt and adjust our way of working, our management, to be the most dynamic. And of course, we have been commended from other countries and organizations around the world as well. Another question is about the flights. Certain times when all of the documentation have been submitted, the certificate of entry and things like that, but the difficulty remains in the flight. That is because in the latest announcement of the CAAT, commercial flights are still not allowed. Those carrying persons have to fall within categories such as state or military, aircraft, emergency landing, technical landing, repatriation flights, cargo flights, and those flights permitted carrying persons who are already permitted to carry persons entering Thailand. So in fact, chartered flights are in this category, but not commercial flights. So the question about not being in sync, that would be, of course, only for commercial flights that are not in sync with the date that you would like to return. If there is an arrangement after you receive the COE for any special flight or chartered flight or any repatriation flight with Thai nationals, then that would be more convenient, of course. So that's not a case of not being in sync. A final question is about the country where you of your citizenship or country where you are traveling from. Okay, so in applying for the COE, that's required from the Thai embassy or consulate of the country you are traveling from. Okay, not the country of your nationality. So in terms of that, there is advice from the Royal Thai Embassy and Royal Thai Consulate General in the country that you are living in right now before entering Thailand, and the authorities there will consider your COE from your port of origin. The spokesperson also was addressed with a direct question regarding the concern over the arrival of foreign military personnel, particularly for the Thai-U.S. military exercises in Thailand, which required the entry of U.S. military personnel. And this was also in the media as well. So there were questions on social media prior to the arrival about whether this could be postponed to prevent the risk of COVID spread, to prevent public panic. Are the military exercises at this stage necessary, and things like that. So with regard to this, on the 3rd and 4th of August, military personnel from the United States arrived, including 71 officials from Guam and 39 from the military base in Japan, and all have been undergoing 14 days of quarantine and not allowed to leave the premises, the ASQ, being closely monitored until the completion of their quarantine period, upon which, after completion of the quarantine, they will be joining the exercising taking place on the 18th to the 31st of August 2020. And these exercises will be adjusted according to the new normal, which include a reduced number of participants. To date, there have been no COVID positive results found in this group of visiting U.S. military personnel. And just to recap, that the Armed Forces of Thailand have already come out to clarify this particular case already in the past days. So just in conclusion, in spite of the numbers of infection and the second wave of outbreak in many countries around the world, in Thailand, we believe in keeping a positive attitude and joining hands. The spokesperson mentioned in Thai, ร่วมด้วยช่วยกัน joining hands in fighting against the virus, continuing to fight against the virus. It's every person's role, duty to cooperate. That's the most important tool, the key tool in keeping our societies continue to be safe. So, of course, continuing with the various measures is very important. The spokesperson also mentioned about the word tranak in Thai. That's aware. That's very important for us to be aware, but not to be too tranok. That's kind of translated as overly worried or panic. So tranak, but not tranok. And also not to be lax in any of the measures, not yon yan. So be aware and not panic. That's, I think, the very most important message that we want to send to you. This is the summary that I have for today for the English language summary here at the CCSA. We have tried our very best in the past weeks, in the past months. Our team here have been very dedicated. Our CCSA executives have provided us with the confidence in the measures that they have deliberated on, and for us to convey and communicate to the Thai nationals, to the English language audience, to foreign nationals who call Thailand home. So we tried our very best to communicate. We hope that it has been useful. We are here to serve, as I said at the beginning. I hope that all of you have a very pleasant weekend. Our hearts are all with you as we continue our normal lives, of course, with a little bit of awareness, with still remaining with the vigilance, with the ความตระหนักรู้ So thank you very much for your attention. I think we'll be meeting you again after around 2 weeks, after the general CCSA meeting, as I mentioned, or as the situation dictates. Thank you very much for your attention, and we hope to see you again very soon. สวัสดีครับ